Hello, welcome back to She Says Happiness. I'm Mary Ellen. This is my channel. This is where I will share with you all things stitching related. So if sewing is your thing, you're in the right place. Hopefully you'll stick around and subscribe to my channel. If you have already subscribed and you're returning to my channel, then you are most welcome. So it's that time again. It's Sunday Sews, and for full disclosure, it's actually Saturday, but I thought I'd get a bit of a head start on making my video and share with you what I have done up until this point. So yeah, we're now sitting on Saturday evening. It's still a glorious evening. The weather has been absolutely delightful, and I find it quite inspiring this week to get a few sunny days, making me think forward to spring and summer makes. So let's tell you what I've been up to. So at the start of the week, I did have a couple of days off, and I made a start on a couple of projects. One of them you can see here behind me is another Tilly and the Buttons pearl. And I think it's my fourth one now. I have to say it's probably the last one I'll make for a wee while. I just find that that kind of wrap over v-neck cardigan worked perfectly in my wardrobe, and I did it in a couple of basic colours. So I made a rust colour, I made a mustard, and I made a red. And I have to say, I have been getting a lot of wear out of those cardigans, but this one's a little bit different. So in the other versions I've made, if you caught my video earlier in this week, I was talking about stretch fabrics, and more importantly, the recovery of stretch fabrics. So this is a cotton pointelle that I purchased from Felicity Fabrics a few weeks back. And while it is a knit fabric and does have a good amount of stretch, it has very, very little recovery. And it's probably not really suitable for Tilly and the Buttons pearl cardigan as we know it, but it's perfect for what I wanted it to be. So sometimes you can kind of break with convention as long as you're aware of what's going to happen when you do. And because this is little to no recovery, I'm not going to get that lovely cinched in look that I get from all of my other Tilly and the Buttons cardigans when I tie them, because those waist ties, if I were to tie them really tightly, are just going to stretch out and become ineffective over a while. But this is a looser version of the cardigan, which I've made specifically with summer evenings in mind. And because it's Ireland, yes, okay, we get some summery days, but evenings still tend to be really chilly, and being on an island, there's a lot of wind to think about, so you always need to have a cover up for the evening time. And I've made this to go with denim, with linen. I do intend to make a couple of beautiful lightweight tiered dresses, and I just thought this would be perfect to throw over it in the evening. And I'll pop a picture in so you can see it up close and see the texture of that fabric, because I can't bother taking it off, to be quite frank. But yeah, absolutely love it, and it will do exactly what I want it to do, which is to be breathable, but just to give me a bit of coverage when I need it on a cooler evening. And I didn't want it to be too tight, because in summer there is nothing worse than having a garment that clings to you. It's so unattractive and so uncomfortable, and I have no intention of wearing anything like that in the summer months. So I love this. I will get a lot of wear out of this, and I have a few makes planned to work with it as well. But as it stands, it works really, really well with denim that I have in my wardrobe, and with navy and things like that. And I do want to make a beautiful white linen dress as well. And that would be lovely just to throw on in the evening when you're out in the garden with a few friends, having a cocktail and pizza, whatever. So yeah, that was the first thing I made this week. And then I moved on to one of my favorite ever patterns, and I made another Sew Over It Marguerite dress. So if you're not a stranger to my channel, you'll know that this is one of my all-time favorite patterns. I've probably in the last 2 years made 10 of these, which sounds like a lot, but it's not, because I do wear them very frequently. They're kind of a staple in my wardrobe, and I do get quite a lot of wear out of them. I've made them in quite an array of different fabrics, from viscose to cotton to canvas to tencel twill, lots of different variations. But I focus now, I think my focus now is on spring and summer wear. So I do want to get a couple more lightweight versions of this into the wardrobe for when the sun inevitably does show its unwelcome head. I'm not a sun lover. This skin, Irish skin, does not like the sun. I tend to get headaches in the sun, but I do enjoy summer picnics and things as much as everybody else does. So I will adapt for a couple of months. And it is Ireland, so it's not like we get a tropical summer, and that's why the pearl was very necessary for my wardrobe. But yeah, this is the version, I'll pop in this picture, of the Marguerite dress that I made this week. It's in a beautiful viscose fabric from the rag shop. I don't know if they still have any in stock. I bought this quite a while back. But I just love those greens and yellow tones. It's perfect for my palette, really. I just love those shades so much. And I've already worn it out and yeah, had quite a few compliments on it already. And I've probably talked about the Marguerite pattern before. It's one of those magic unicorn patterns that I pulled out of the sleeve and it worked perfectly. And my toile, I discovered, needed no modifications at all, and I've never changed it ever since. So every single version I have made it just the same. I'm actually thinking of making a maxi version for summer, but yeah, haven't got around to that yet. So this was a good make for me, and it's a make that will get worn very, very frequently. And then one of the other things I did, which is completely unrelated to actual dressmaking, I finished off, if you see any of my other videos, I finished off my biscornu. So I get a monthly craft subscription box. It's a cross-stitch subscription box from Cotton and Twine. And the project this month was to make a biscornu. So February box, there were two designs that you could choose from. There is this design and then this one here, which is the one that I actually chose. And so you make your two little squares basically, and then you sew them together to create this biscornu, which is actually going to be my new pin cushion. But isn't it adorable? I finished it off with a couple of little vintage buttons, which is lovely. And it's so autumnal, and I really am an eternal autumnal person. These are my colours all year round. If I could get away with having one season all year, autumn is what it would be. So yeah, I finished that off and I've brought it up to the sewing room to become my new desk pincushion. So yeah, completely as an aside. So yeah, I took a couple of days, a couple of evenings just to finish that off. And then today, I have been in the sewing room for a couple of hours and I've been creating a garment that will be part of a blog that is going to be on the Felicity Fabrics website in the next week or two. So I have been sewing with an absolutely beautiful fabric, which I'll share with you. I folded this up so you can't see the actual garment because it's meant to be a surprise for the blog. But look at this beautiful, beautiful print on this blue background. Little birds and flowers. And again, with my colours in there, the greens, the yellows, the oranges and wine. That's just all the colours that I love. So this is actually a sweater knit. It's a sweater Modal fabric and it's probably not intended for what I've made with it, but I always do exactly what you're not supposed to do and break all the rules and all the recommendations. So it would be perfect for sweaters. It would be perfect for something like pajamas, even for dressing gowns and things. Absolutely gorgeous. And Modal fabric for me, the real plus of it is that it's super comfortable because it is so soft and like it has almost kind of like a squishiness to it, but it's silky smooth. And the reason it is, of course, is because it's made from natural plant extract. Modal fabric is actually, for those of you who don't know, made from the pulp of beech trees. So it's one of those fabrics as well that actually requires less resources to produce than others. So it does have ecological credit along with it, and it makes it a real pleasure to sew and to wear. In terms of sewing, like even putting 6 layers of this through my machine was no issue at all. I didn't even need my walking foot, so it was an absolute treat to work with. It washes really well, it doesn't really need ironed. Saying that, every single seam has been pressed in the making of this garment. So this evening I'm going to sit with a glass of wine, maybe a treat, and write up my blog post for Felicity Fabrics on that. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. So kind of busy, could be busier, but really enjoyable projects and projects that I will get a lot of wear out of, which to me is the key. And I know sometimes people kind of like look at me and go, is that another new dress you've made? Do you ever get to wear them all? And I do. My clothes do get a lot of wear. Now I have to say I've been clearing out the wardrobe of late, and a lot of the things that I made when I was a beginner sewist, I'm not going to wear, because with what I know now, they just don't look great to me. The fit of them isn't perfect, so I put them on and all I can see are the little issues. So a lot of those I have actually dismantled and I now use for toiling with. So my fabrics are being reused and they're not being wasted, but I think there's a good 20 garments there that have been pulled out that I won't ever wear again, but I am going to be reusing them. And actually there's a couple of the dresses I had that I've pulled together so well that I could probably piece a skirt or even a blouse out of them if I wanted to, and I will do that with a couple of them. So yeah, that's what I've been up to so far. I have to be honest, my sewing this weekend is not over, and I'm recording this on Saturday knowing that I'll be recording a little bit more tomorrow afternoon when I stitch up my Peter Pan Bolero. So I know I said I was planning for spring and summer, but while we're having a glorious couple of days at the moment, we are forecast to get hail and sleet and whatnot by the middle of the week. So I'm still allowed to make weather appropriate clothing. And this is a fabric that was sent to me by Minerva. This is a 100% responsible wool with a slight amount of stretch in there, very similar to a boiled wool. But again, completely ecologically guilt-free. So you can make this, and sustainability, if that's your thing, is leaving you conscience-free. But I need to make this up because there is a time constraint on when I have to make it for a start. But also I know that the weather is still unpredictable here in Ireland, and I will get a few wears out of this even before autumn and winter do come back in. So it is going to become a Peter Pan Bolero, and yeah, love this colour. I have a few Peter Pan Boleros already, but I don't have one in this colour. And I've been meaning to make one. So when the opportunity to snap up some of this fabric arose, I did so. So I'm going to work on that for Sunday. And if I get it finished, I'll show you, but who knows if I get it finished or not. Again, it depends on the weather and what I actually plan to do. But I'm going to do a wee bit of laundry tonight as well. I've got some pre-washing I want to do because next week I am hoping to get a bit of time to do some sewing, even if it is just in the evenings. So with that in mind, I've pulled out 3 fabrics, which I'll share with you before I go and make a start on dinner this evening. The first one is a very simple green cotton jersey, and I'm going to make myself a Moneta dress out of this. So Moneta is a pattern by Colette Patterns, which unfortunately you can't buy anymore, but I do have a copy and I've made it now quite a few times. But see, in terms of walking the dog and things like that and just doing everyday errands, it's my go-to dress. So that's come out for that. I've pulled out this beautiful teal and lemon print viscose to make another sew over Marguerite dress. This is a dead stock fabric, which I got from Missy Mott Fabrics in Hastings. And I just loved that teal background and that bright yellow. Usually you get all the lemon prints and darker backgrounds, but I just thought this teal was perfect for me. So that's going into the pre-wash. And then the other fabric I'm going to be pre-washing as well. I think I probably showed you this as well in a past fabric haul. It's a burgundy polka dot, and that's to make another version of what I'm wearing here. So I'm wearing a sew over penny dress, and this is the perfect workwear dress for me. It's so light and breathable and lovely, and just, you know, tamed with a pair of heels. You've got a smart casual work wardrobe there. So that's what that is hopefully going to be. So I'll go and get that done, make a start in dinner, and hopefully I'll be back with you tomorrow and I'll share with you my progress on my Bolero. I'm back. It's Sunday morning, a beautiful spring day, and I am in the sewing room, but just briefly. I'm actually not going to get an awful lot done today because it's really lovely outside. So I think it's a day to be out of the sewing room. Nevertheless, I'm having my morning coffee and I'm here for the first hour of the day. Everything's so quiet and peaceful, it's beautiful. And yeah, I've got a little bit of work done. So I did manage to get my Peter Pan Bolero cut out last night. So I've interfaced those pieces this morning. I've marked in the darts and have them pinned and ready to go. And then I got a little bit distracted. So basically I got an email last night from Emily over at Schultz Patterns. Now Schultz Apparel is a company that I do pattern testing for now and again, and she had released a little bag pattern and she actually sent it out to her tester team just as a little gift, and I thought it was adorable, so that's what I've actually been getting up to. So this morning I used the scraps from the Peter Pan Bolero that I just cut out. And I really had to, because the fabric that I've been sent, it costs over £40 per metre. It is a really high quality fabric. And there were a few scrappy pieces left over that were sizable enough. And I managed to cut out the pieces for the pattern. So the pattern is called the Asta bag. It's a really simple, vintage inspired handbag. It's basically a small round handbag, which can be made with or without a bow. I'll stick an image in here from Emily's makes so you can see it. And the one that I've made this morning, now it doesn't have a bow on there because I really didn't have very much fabric left over from cutting out the Peter Pan Bolero. You can see I've got it interfaced and everything this morning, and I've got my darts placed, so I have made a start. It's just too nice, I think, to sew with that fabric today. But yeah, I cut out and I managed to salvage enough pieces from what was left over with the sustainable wool to make myself one of these little bags. To say, just a really simple sew. I've lined it, as you can see, with the viscose that I had left over from my Marguerite dress, and I actually really hate having leftovers, so this was an absolutely lovely way just of using that up. So as I say, it's a really simple pattern, basically a small round handbag. It doesn't actually have any closures or anything, but you could literally just put a little stud popper in there to keep it closed for a little bit more security. And as I say, I have not made a bow for my version, but I could also add a bow later on, even in a contrasting fabric. It would look really cute. And the thing about this pattern is it has detachable bows, so you can actually change them around or wear the bag, use the bag with or without the bow on it. So yeah, fully lined, absolutely lovely, and just a nice way of using up scraps. As I say, I hate having scraps lying around, especially when they're from a really good fabric. So yeah, really simple. I mean, I think half an hour it was cut and made and ready to go. So when I actually do get my Peter Pan Bolero, I have a gorgeous little bag to use with it. And if I was wearing it with my Marguerite dress that I just finished this week, of course, it works even better. So it was a lovely little thing to get. In terms of the size of that little bag, it's 22 centimeters in diameter. And as I say, really simple. So you have your bag piece, which you cut two from, and two of your lining. You also can interface it. I did interface it, but I don't think you would really need to for a lot of fabrics. Cottons and things, possibly, yes, but not the one that I was using, but I did so anyhow. And then you also have the side piece to cut out, one in your main fabric, one in your lining fabric, and then you've got your little pattern piece here just for the straps, of which you cut two. And that's it. The bow has quite a large, substantial pattern piece, so that's why I did not have the fabric to be cutting that out. And then just the smaller piece then for the center of your bow. But yeah, really simple. And I think that's one of those makes that would be a lovely palette cleanser between projects if you do have a lot of fabric left over. Yeah, absolutely adorable. And I can imagine I'll be using up my scraps to make a few more of those. There's something nice about having accessories that match what you're wearing. I know a lot of us have probably been guilty of making face masks to go with many of our dresses over the last couple of years. And hopefully, moving forward, we'll be making something a little bit different to use up all those wee bits and pieces. So, as I said earlier, I am not going to be sewing this up. Now, when I was sewing up this little bag, I did discover that when you're sewing lots of layers together, so when I was sewing the little handles in. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of that wool, plus then the seam allowances, so 7 or 9 technically, that were inside. My machine did struggle. Now my machine is pretty good with heavy fabrics. I have made coats and stuff on this machine, no issues at all. But for the first time, because of the thickness of all those layers, my machine struggled. And I felt really, really sorry for it. So I have looked out my walking foot, and when I go to make my Peter Pan bolero, I'm going to have to give this a go. I don't like using a walking foot because it does wear down. I think I've used it maybe once before, and that was, I think, to put in a collar and a facing, which I'm going to have to do with this bolero. So basically the bolero will have the upper collar, the lower collar, the facing and the main pieces, and it is going to get quite chunky, so I am going to have to make use of the old walking foot. I hate doing it. I hate unscrewing and getting the screw back in, and yeah, it's annoying, but these things need to be done. And honestly, I think it's going to be sent to try me, which is another reason why I'm going to put it off until we have a slightly colder, less sunny day, and it is coming. And this is the time of year where traditionally in Ireland we do get snow. In fact, I think it was 4 years ago that I was actually snowed in, and while making my way to work one day, I ended up in a hedge. It was fine, of course, because I was only driving at like 10 miles an hour, but yeah, it always happens. So I'm not holding out hope for spring continuing. We'll see how we go, but I'm sure there will be some kind of dire weather before the next couple of weeks are out. So today what I am going to do then is get outside with my dogs and just enjoy the sun. I've had a headache since first thing this morning, so the light wasn't where I was going immediately when I got up. So I've just taken my time, spent that little bit of time trying out this little pattern that Emily had sent through and getting my pattern pieces ready for that. I'll probably do some more cutting this evening. I do tend to bulk cut on a Saturday or a Sunday evening when Simon's at home and he can look after the dogs, because the minute I set down fabric on the floor, and I do tend to cut a lot of my things on the floor because mostly they're dresses that I'm making and I do need the space and the table just isn't big enough without faffing about. But they like to lie on it and help me and be little pattern weights and then claim the scraps if they're cozy enough. So I do tend to do a bit of bulk cutting either on a Saturday or a Sunday, and then when I get home from work during the week I'll get half an hour at least in the evenings just to spend a little bit of time sewing and prepping those pieces. So without further ado, I'm going to go off and enjoy my Sunday and enjoy the rest of my coffee, of which I'm sure is the first of many today. And hopefully you've all had a fantastic weekend. Whatever is left of your weekend, I hope you enjoy it. I say whatever is left because by the time my vlog actually uploads to YouTube, it'll probably be almost midnight. I tend to have really slow broadband where I live out in the sticks, you know, so it does take quite a long time, which is why in terms of my Sunday sews, to get it out there on a Sunday, yeah, I have to think about it first thing in the morning, which not always is it ideal. I'm not really a morning person on the weekends, so it's a bit of a struggle. But anyhow, that's been my sewing this week, and moving forward, I've shared my plans with you, and hopefully I'll have beautiful things to share with you next weekend as well. So again, thank you so much for stopping by, watching my vlogs, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel and you've made it this far, why not think about subscribing to the channel and hit that little alarm bell and you'll be notified the next time I post a video. So thank you again, happy stitching, and bye bye.